I'll take the time back to, I joined the police force on the 26th of May 1974. It's a year before independence. On the 15th of September 1975, a day before 16th of September, I was at Gari Baki Stadium when I saw the Australian flag being lowered. I was only a 19-year-old cadet at the time. I was 19 years old, age. You don't come up with cookies money, you were paying your amount of offset. Okay, on the 16th of September 1975, at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was at the 2 years of independence day. And that was when we had a flag being risen up on the Independence Day. And at that time, I took a very good glimpse of a very young Prime Minister who was addressing his nation at the time, and that's the very short Thomas. What does it do for me? I mean, you don't know me. Now, as a young man, dedicating my time to join the police force, when Chief speaks at the time as a young Prime Minister, gives a sense of unity and the desire to do something quite extraordinary to support the intentions or the outcomes of the independence that we want to do. So for me, it was a vibrating and let me inspire me to. I mean, give me this sense of unity and it tells me you must push forward in police department or in police training to become a police officer in the Royal Public instead. Sure enough, on June 6, in 1976, I graduated from one of these colleges after 1 year following independence. We come up with Islamic Council. So, when we go back to our concept of training with those as college where we placed our money, when Red Chief was preparing the country to go to independence, and it's not on top-notch command of military, or police, or as the time I talked about, we need to set up an institution that must train and make boys become men. Then boys become men. That's the concept why we moved into Joint Services College. And Joint Services College at that time was an institution that was established to train, to give 1 year training of police cadets, military cadets, naval and military land element, naval cadets, CS cadets, every one of us together 1 year. And we did that 1 year, although academic subjects were part of the program that they taught us. It is concentrated mostly on military doctrines and leadership. Military doctrines and leadership. And the idea was that to train boys to become men, so that I think people Papua Indian person don't be flexible independence now. Like you can have programs to look at them. So we need people that must provide a leadership along all the discipline services from the plan all in Papua. That was the thing. Now he didn't know on us until people come through the day and we were running with the surrounding. So that's a classic example. When my intake went to JSC, there were 50 of us. When we came out of the Joint Services College, there was only 14 left. 14 of 50. And that's how tough it was, because they said, make boys become men. Now, what are some people white man, or Australian white man, so give him us to give you left, right, center, all that kind of thing. But you have to survive amidst that. And I'm glad that I was one of those that was able to survive the entourage of all these, hardship that we went through, Joint Services College to come through. And I was able to see the friendship addressing the nation when he was the Prime Minister on the 16th of September 1975. And inspired. So I came out and I made my way as a young police officer. Because he was that. And I decided to join the mobile squad because I was inspired that when the Town Association was really kicking up in Eastern Region, once I was still doing my training, I started my school in Terra, the School of Terra. I mean, the plan of it was a situation on the Town Association. So we put on mobile squad and I said, this is going to be my life. When I finished that, because this school strong, I mean, very awesome. Police officer, I mean, I'm a mobile squad officer. So sure enough, I ended up at Guinea. we joined mobile store and we started the start. So we started working on the start program. And I was glad that I was able to be able to find my wife there. So my young wife as a police officer was also supported by my wife to do the work and go to the find where we come from violence and come around, and from violence and come around, around this now. It's a very young, two couples, very young at the time, and we are a local policeman, it's really well. So that was inspiring part of it. But that's not the end. You know, I spoke with one of those who's very, very successful in my life as a police officer, because I got promoted so quickly. All right? I got promoted so quickly, and I think that there we became, when Bill Gates was the Prime Minister, after the vote of confidence from Secretary, all right, and he was the Prime Minister. He appointed Ideal as the Commissioner, and then I was appointed Deputy Commissioner to Mr. Ideal at that time. So I started very young as a Deputy Commissioner, and that was in 1997, following the national election. Ideal was the Commissioner. But let me say this, all those 14 that came out to join the census stories, that intake was one of the best in the history of the Royal Papua New Guinea because it produces 4 police commissioners. 4. Ideal, Ingua, Kupo, and Baki. And when I got appointed again in 2015 as a police commissioner, with the local history of 75, you know what our history of police force? No. And so, and like stuff. So, we come up with the commissioner, we go, we get the commissioner, when the branch was appointed in as the commissioner, 2003, okay, sorry, 2012, national elections ago, I was deputy commissioner to Ingua. When Ingua was then expired, 2003 or 2006, you know, that was a turbulent time within the police forces were to drenching out of his own wisdom. And we started with a kind of institutional percent. I was suspended because I was deputy commissioner. I was suspended in police force now. He can't start a place. He can't start a place now. Drenching his own wisdom. And he's talking honorable ethic rights. My name is Saman. My name is young man because I want to become policeman. I requested you. So they had to find me, and I was already in the village. So when they said, come on, people are finding the place and talk. You must work on Mosby. Little did I know that when I arrived in Mosby, there was a car that was already arranged by supposed to go on the National House Drive. So Mosby, you will remember that Patrick Price was describing the way I was picked up in the airport and eventually taken somewhere, taken to the office of the Prime Minister and later on to cabinet. He told us I have been appointed as a police commissioner. Out of all the evidence that's been going on within the police department. So I was very fortunate. My first appointment as commissioner came in 2007 by Ben Chief himself when he was the Prime Minister of our country. And I get credit, that he had a council on my country. So that was not the end. I was the Prime Minister. I was the Prime Minister of the South. 2007, until 2010, his wisdom, and Sinamiki, and Sinamiki, become an office very person. So he was kind of an office and all. But we must usually go and we must go and go back to office. Nobody practices down to this kind of thing. He is a leader, he's got so much wisdom. So that's what he did. I accepted it. I came home. We can start a press and we can go around. That's a place to listen. We go back there. We don't let people from the village, and let people watch for rights, they are only the Director General of the National Intelligence Organization in 2013. And then in 2015, they reappointed me again as the police commissioner. So there's only 2 people in the history of the police force that have been appointed 2 times as police commissioner. Number 1 and Henry Toka and Rosimu. And one man in the time was police commissioner. And number 2, Gari Baki, and one was police commissioner. So I'm very fortunate that I was part in the Grand Chief in his stay as the Prime Minister, from appointing the So this man that I cross party, in his then as Prime Minister and Martin also Prime Minister. But I think the most important part of this governance is to go back in 1997 when we reflected on the Sandline crisis. I think Sandline crisis was the testing time, and it was 20 years after our independence that we have this crisis, the Sandline crisis. I know you will read a lot of documentation and everything that's been written about Sandline. In quotations for the English and French was, save the nation. No, Sandline. Then the Singapore was part and parcel of the decision that was made to engage in Sandline for time Sandline. He was the chief advisor to the Prime Minister at the time. His profession is the monetary affairs. But I said right now, all nationalists go back to King's Fight. But at the time, if you read the newspaper, and if you read, I said you the same book, playing the games, I think that's his book on writing something about politics, you will never see anything written about Sandline on how he came out of the parliament and how he will get inside to stay outside. There's nothing in the books, nothing. Even in Gari Baki's book now, A Matter of Science, there is written, you will find no paragraph in there that talks about it. But I think, as a former President of Islam, I am proud to say that the people who actually hold a constitution together at that testing time was the Royal Parliament of Israel. It was the police force. It was the police force because the police force did not move. We stood firm to support the government, and we stood firm. It is a political and a constitutional crisis. A political and a constitutional crisis. A cabinet or a night before, Bill State moved the motion, or any land moved the motion, Prime Minister said to his stand, must be signed. Now, when we put it back in his head, there was the time. And the old man, Brett Chief just came out in his vision and thought, no. I mean, Americans the motion and thought, he moved the motion and said to his stand, must step aside. So, said the same thing not resign. He stood aside. Had he resigned at the time, please, as a couple of his other ministers, we would have a constitutional crisis and we would also have, what everyone would like to tell as a leader in our country. The recipe was already there, but the priest was paying. We took centuries out of the Parliament House in the midst of all. I haven't said that we made certain army was the time. We played 6 centuries out the Parliament House. Oleh biasa masa polis mana? Kalau presiden kalau bermain sebuah satu Parliament House, itu kalau Parliament atau Gofro, orang saya sama pemain nak presiden buat dalam House Parliament. Itu mana penting itu? Orang ini nak buat apa? Pada orang polis mana buat itu? Nah itu orang ini saya rasa kami presiden kami ini saya. Orang polis mana buat itu? On the day that he was supposed to come, he said to stand aside, stood aside. He had 10 minutes. 10 minutes before 2 o'clock, then he must go inside on the floor of Parliament so that they can look him and answer the door and come and step aside. So it was a critical period of time. Now, two professionals really money walk past for the South President of Gari Baki outside, now really go get inside. This is public notice for you now. Okay. One is looking careful, and 2 is this person that is you now. So we were walking. We created a diversion. And our diversion was that because we had 10 minutes, we played advice in military and we played advice in Mataman. Centuries, by the police and local, then by the land of Parliament House, and everybody was there. That was what we created. And we still have. We were a big army people as a time. Now we created the diversion. So, intelligence or something was that exactly 10 minutes to 2. Exactly 10 minutes to 2. Police headquarters and centuries, we play a lot of we extend to the Ludwig was in front of that vehicle. Our driver was a young person from city, our city at the back, and the other person is from the Sergeant Bola and Sinan on side. So we make centuries. And I told Ludwig, you fought, you led our men on the wheel, I led our men on the wheel. So let us pay his Now you know, now men are not police car and say police and Islam. The Islam was at point and not the Islam outside, now who did Islam? We came on the last roadblock. Okay, that 1 minute we stopped there for a minute to check us. It was like 1 hour. I said, listen, and what do you want to do? And what do you want to do in Islam? He was so scared because the military man kept saying, then when he asked me, come on, you do something. Now, nobody does we are outside. So, we bring him a solution. So, the draw went down and said, 10 minutes to do, the police helicopter came. When the police helicopter came, he drew everyone's attention, long body go to go. Helicopter by land, I said, please come up, and that was the attention, so we took it right down to the Prime Minister's Papa. He got to the lift and he went up. And all his ministers were in his conference room up on the fourth floor. At that time, Paul Boyan, who was formerly the former police commissioner, was the Minister for Defense. So then he go on Uganda, two people go down and knock on the door of the conference room. All of them can chair, maybe also the other ministers, also get go to the I'm Minister for Defense, let me go. If they took me away, what family are going to not be also. So I tell people, I'm going to go to St. Louis. So St. Louis Valley went down to the floor of the Parliament, and that was a historical event that he stood aside at the time. And just as happened before I came here, I saw one speech that Brother Mama made on the floor about St. Louis, and he gave credit to him, okay, for at that time, for stepping aside to ease the attention that's been building up because the army was beginners, they were leading the university students, they were leading all the other members of the public to come to the Parliament and do whatever they want to do but demand the resignation of St. Louis. So, it was a lesson, and I am proud that I was one of those that we were able to protect the Constitution at the time for him. So that become a police commissioner, and I think my career was been very successful. I'm very pleased about it. I think as a concluding remarks to me, I will say I saw the men when he addressed the nation 16th of September 1975. I saw the men who appointed me as police commissioner in my first tenure as policeman in 2007. And I saw the men, and I felt the only organization that gave him the favor in 2018, and I was happy that I was a commissioner at the time to be able to do that, to favor a branching in his capacity as the Prime Minister and from his political life. We only was a great woman of Oman, and we fairly remember this stuff. So I am happy that I said last at the time, I can say this, what this old man now you call him branching, but it is inspiring this that has done to some of us. Bringing it so we were the leadership of the, post-independence that has come through, and now the leadership of today for the next 50 years should take on the challenges. Now, someone talk about giving government, this is the leadership that must obey negotiation. And the political leadership must resemble the leadership of a branching in this getting away with a young man taking this country through. Today, I'm sorry to say this, my government of a member of the planning of political leadership, you know what? That's not. They think about themselves too much. They don't think about their nation, and they don't think about their people. Only there's possibility simply think about one time to our why you thinking about the government where you go. Now why are you doing more money, now why are you doing more money, go. Now this is what the independence, the outpost independence, they're coming up now. This country will stand to December what he has done and what he has left for us for the next 50 years. God bless you all.